Well, I want to pick up on what we left off last time I showed up how to hook up a car, how to disconnect a car. I want to go through the process today. We're going to offload one car and we're going to use just one compressor. And so we're going to walk through that. I'll cut out all the parts where I actually hook up the car. I just want to cover some of the things that we do before we actually get to it. One of the first things I do, which I haven't shown and probably won't show, is that you go and you make sure all your valves on your tanks are in the correct position. And I need to do that because Friday afternoon I transferred product from 2 tanks to my other 2 tanks, and so I had to go first thing this morning, go and make sure all my valves are reset and everything is going to flow in the direction that I want it to. Now I've got that, and now that it's warm weather, I'm not going to pre-start my compressors. But when it's cold weather, the colder it is, especially from like 30 degrees on down, I always pre-start my compressors and let them run. And when it's really cold out, like 0 and colder, I may have my compressors run 20 minutes before I ever put them under a load, just to give the motor, the belt, everything in there a chance to warm up, stretch, be in good shape. And so we're not going to start that, but I am going to come in, and before I'm going to run this compressor, and I want to make sure my 4-way valve's in the correct position, make sure my bypass is in neutral, make sure my inlet my vapor outlet going to the cars is closed, make sure my drain is closed, and make sure my overhead valve for my vapor coming from the tanks is closed. Just the basic things that you just always do as you walk around every morning. You just do a visual cue and just look for all these things. And then we'll go get my nitrogen. And now I just open up my tank internal valves that I need, and I'm putting nitrogen up here to my rail towers. And here at my place over here, I have my rail cars divided up into 2. I just split my system. Most of my system on either end is bifurcated, so I can, I can run half or run both together. That's how I prefer to set everything up. So what I've got is I've got towers 1 and 2 coming in. They go through that strainer right there, and then they're controlled by that 4-inch ball valve. And over here, towers 3 and 4 are the same thing. Well, I'm going to be offloading the car under tower 3, so I'm going to go ahead and open up this one. And like all valves in the system, the preferred way is not to rip them open. It's just do it at a nice steady pace. You can do it faster, but the odds of you causing a problem really go up if we do things too fast. And right here I've got my 4-inch strainer, and I got to blow down in here, and I'll show you when we get back inside the screen that goes inside here. And then also I installed a drain. Before I go to work on this, I can always open this up, drain it out. And the smart way to do it is to push all of the liquid out of this line before you shut down. That way when you shut down and drain this, you're just draining vapor, not liquid. So now that I got that open, I'm just going to go up to the towers, hook everything up. Alright, I've got this car almost completely hooked up. Just wanted to kind of show you how we're all set up here. One of the problems, I wasn't planning on doing this, but why don't you come in here a little bit closer. Midland valves have an ongoing open-ended service bulletins out because they leak and they have a lot of consistent problems. One of the problems with Midland valves, which is what this is, a Midland valve, is they can leak out the top of the valve stem, and One of the fixes Midland has come up with is you can see this packing nut right here. It's kind of like a brass looking packing nut. That's their updated version. According to them, they change that packing nut when they do a rebuild or repair or whatever it is that, I'm not exactly sure how in depth they go. I'm assuming it's a complete rebuild. They put that in, and Midland says that that will stop the problem. I don't know. I'm just repeating what they say. And then here's another thing. This is also a Midland valve, the sample line valve. I'm going to try to find and try to put a link in here to a service bulletin for this Midland and for both of these two valves right here. This one here, they warn against this thing being tightened down too much because of the you got the permanent hard metal seat in the bottom, and then you got a soft seat that goes down in there, and I think it's made out of Teflon. Well, if you keep mashing that down, you will, just like any other seat like that, you'll deform it and it'll want to leak. Also, there's a pin. If you rebuild that, there's a keeper pin inside there that limits the travel of this valve stem. If they fail to put that pin back in on a rebuild, you can unthread that valve stem all the way out. Also, if you decide to really open that up and torque it, you run the risk of shearing that little pin out. So as a rule, you only open these up as many turns as you have to just to do the job. No more. It doesn't need to be wide open for 99% of everything that we do. So I just want to touch bases on that. So I have my liquid here and my vapor here all hooked up with nitrogen. I still need to go over here and do this one. But what we're going to do is open that up. Now we'll go over here and open this one up. All right, I'm going to step over. I would like for you to get in here on the camera. I don't know if you can see this or not, but here's the level with the platform, and here's my gangway is about almost 4 inches taller. If you look right in here, my gangway is almost touching this rail. You will find that occasionally in cars, to where when they build this top part, it's not centered on the car. One side is a little lower than the others, and if you stand back and actually look at it, you can see the difference. And so if this car were reversed, you'd never know it. It's just that when the car is this way, the worst ones I ever seen, that's not right. That's bad grammar. Worst one I've ever had here was my gangway only came down to here. I physically couldn't get it any lower than that. So I mean, we had to bring parts, set them up here. I stood over here, grabbed parts from here and hooked everything up. Took a long time, but there's really not a lot you can do about it when you get a car like that. So now here we are. I'm gonna hook this up, and I should hear a thunk when this opens. There, that opened. I always open the hose valve first so we can put some pressure in here going this way instead of opening it up this way. You can't hear it because it's not loud enough, but in my subjective opinion, on these gold ones as opposed to the normal ones, which are that like a dull zinc finish, normally you don't feel anything when you open this up. But on these gold ones, and like I said, it may be all in my mind. I can't prove it. You can feel it. You can feel it when you open up that valve stem. It's just like it's rolling. It's like you take a ratchet and you take it in the direction where it normally wants to spin freely, and you can feel all the little ratchets, all the little teeth as you spin it. That's kind of what this feels like. So I don't know what they do different. I don't care what they do different. As long as they can keep these valves from leaking, that's all I care about. So now we go back and we're going to look at my piping up here. You can see I got some limited flow. I don't have a great deal difference, pressure differential. I'm going to close this. You can come over here, and this is what I do before I start. I look over here at my liquid pipe pressure. It's about 105 pounds. And then you come up here and you look at this one, and it's, you know, 104 pounds. It's very little pressure differential at this point. So that's telling me that when I go and start my compressor, I should see on my discharge pressure gauge, I should see no real spike. It should just be nice, even, smooth, and it'll probably take 10-15 minutes before this thing really generates enough differential pressure to take me up to, I'm anticipating I'll get about 25 PSI differential pressure, maybe 30 in about a half an hour or so. So let's head on down. All right, we're just going to run compressor 1. And when you start it, the speed of how quickly you know, how long it takes before it comes up to full RPM is adjustable through your variable frequency drive. You can have your electricians set it to whether you want it to come up quickly or come up slowly. These two come up rather slowly. And then while that's spooling up, you notice my pressure gauges are still low. This is where I'm going to open up, coming from the pressure coming from the cars. So you're seeing my pressure is kind of mimicking what we have at the cars, which is what I want. If they don't mimic what's up at the cars, I know right off the bat there's something not right. May not know what it is, I just know it ain't right. And then here, I just have an extension on my handle because OSHA says you've got to be able to reach it without overextending yourself. So this lets me do this valve from the ground without a platform. Now you just listen. My compressor's up to full speed. My oil pressure is just a little over 25 pounds. 4-way valves in the offload position, bypasses in neutral. So now what I'm going to do is pull down that bypass valve, and then this should drop a little bit and this should go up a little bit. If this one would have dropped and started going all the way down, that would tell me I failed to turn on my vapor or something slammed shut on the vapor. If this one were to take off and just start climbing up, that's telling me something in here has been shut off. Whether I failed to open it or it automatically closed itself. See, we're slowly building up. Coming up just a little over 120 here, which we're not quite that much at the towers. So we're going to pause it, and we're going to go up there on the towers and take a look. We're going to come back up and we're going to check everything. One lesson I learned the hard way is you can phrase it one of two ways. Never trust, or phrase, if you want to phrase it differently, never assume. Never assume that whatever it is you did or whoever's working with you did is going to, work the way you think it's going to work. You always go back behind. When I'm working with somebody else, I go back behind and I double check their work. And I expect them to come back behind me and double check my work. We're all human. We all forget. We all either do dumb stuff or mechanical things go bad that you're not anticipating to go bad. We all also, this is a little off topic, but all human beings are guilty of, sometimes we see exactly what we expect to see. And that gets us into trouble. We need to learn to see what really is, not what we anticipate to see or what we really want to see. So that's why we come back and we always relook. You see how both of my flaps on both of my liquid lines, the flaps are all the way up and it's running clear. In my system, when these sight glasses run clear, that means I'm filling all of my piping, and my piping is running at its most efficient capacity. Sometimes it'll just be turbulent from beginning to end. It'll never run clear. Today, I'm running that. When we'll come back, shoot, I forgot to set a timer. Let's set a timer here. I'm doing one car. For one car, I normally do an hour and 15 minutes, but because I was running my mouth, we're gonna go for an hour and 10 minutes on this car. So that means about every 15 minutes or so, I'm gonna come out of the office, I'm gonna check my compressor, I'm gonna check my tanks, I'm gonna make sure everything's working within the realm or within the anticipated guidelines of what everything should be. My tank should fill up at a certain rate. My compressor should come up to a certain pressure. Everything should go in a certain way. And only time and experience will teach you what that is. Oh my gosh. Spammers. Gosh, I hate them guys. I give them A for effort, they never quit. But anyway, time and experience will inform you of what you should expect under different circumstances. And so now we're going to come and we're going to take a look at my actual pipe pressure has only gone up about 5 pounds, which is good. I do not want a lot of back pressure in here. When I start to develop back pressure, that's going to tell me my strainer screen is getting plugged. I don't want my strainer screen getting plugged, but my strainer screen always gets plugged. And 2, 3, 4 times a year, you're going to have to pull that screen and replace it, simply because it collects too much Teflon tape. Now, when we get over here, we're going to notice now we have a pretty big spike. We're running about 136 pounds. And so we're running about 110 to 136. My math sucks, but that's about a 25-pound pressure differential, right around there. So that's kind of what I anticipated. If we were running a 40-pound pressure differential, I wouldn't expect it. And it would cause me to begin to look to make sure I fully opened all my valves. And also, here's your last chance. Just look. Are all your hose valves 100% open? Are all your car valves 100% open? If they are, good. This is your chance to find it. Like I said, dumb stuff happens. We get confused and we can tell ourselves we did something when in fact we didn't. So I think that's all we're going to show up here for now. We're going to go and oh no, take it back. 2 more things. In that one video I said this was 3/8 hose. No, it's 1/4 inch hose. I've got confused. I run 3/8 hose for transferring liquid from my piping system into my 100-pound cylinders. And I also have used 3/8 hose to transfer nitrogen from a liquid can into my system. But no, this is 1/4 inch, high pressure propane hose. I buy that from either Berquist or Gas Equipment. Then I want to show you something inside here. Actually, three things. See that? Pound down, top of a rail car. Came in. That's a nice one. Not sure what I'm going to do with it. I'll probably throw it at somebody or throw it somewhere, but that's a nice little find. When I shot the other video about hooking up cars, I noticed something that I told myself 2 years ago to fix. If you notice, I grabbed my antifreeze, I kept it in Gatorade bottles. Well, years ago, I had switched everything out to different types of bottles so that I could put 704 labels on them. And I had not done the antifreeze bottles. And I had gotten so used to it, and one of the things I kept telling myself, yeah, I want to change that. Because I know it's something I need to change. It was when I was watching the video that we shot, I realized, good grief, man, I just didn't do what I told myself to do for such a long time. And it's like, that is so me. That is so like me. So what I went and did, went ahead and I went to Amazon. You can get a box of 10 of these. They're 16 ounce. They're you know, little square body, so they sit pretty nice. They sit pretty level. And then I'm able to wrap my 704 label around it, and then I cover the whole thing in clear shipping tape, because this stuff will peel at the corners, stuff will get in here. And if I don't wrap it in clear shipping tape, it lasts just a few months. But if I wrap it in clear shipping tape, it in the past, on my other things, it's lasted a couple of years before it gets too bad. And 16 ounces, if your thermometer well is completely empty, 16 ounces will fill you up. Depends on your car, anywhere from half to 2/3 full. And 16 ounces if your magnetic float gauge, if that well is empty, 16 ounces will give you a good 4 or 5 inches of antifreeze in the bottom. So I wanted to touch on those two things, and it's a constant reminder that it's always a striving. We're always striving to better ourselves. I am not there yet. I'm better than I was 5 years ago. I'm better than I was a year ago. But I'm not there yet. And I frustrate myself a lot. But I don't let it get to the point that I really tear myself up, because I acknowledge I'm not there yet. I want to get there, and I want to get better. And I want to encourage you, if you're not there yet, just keep plugging at it. Find these things as they come along, correct them. And you'll be shocked where you're going to be a year from now. So much better off. Glad we got that addressed. Alright, we're about halfway through my timer on this car offload. There's a few things we're going to show you to check out. I got my inlet pressure and my discharge pressure, so we're getting a little on the high side. We're about 145, a little bit over. Not unreasonable. When you're looking at that, you're thinking, oh my gosh, I have a 50-pound pressure differential. And on the compressor, that is true. That's what we have, but that doesn't necessarily mean my car has a 50-pound pressure differential. But it still is telling us some really good information that we need to know. Also, I want to go check my liquid trap. You see how my flapper is moving in there? You always want that to move, because if it stays closed, you can slowly start trapping liquid up in here. So I want to make sure it's moving. If that was stuck, I would open my valve just a little bit to get it to move. But everything is dry, should be dry. Weather, temperature, humidity, I should have no liquid at all in here. And we'll walk over here. I don't necessarily need to get back up on the car every time I inspect. I just look right up there and I can see my sight glasses are still clear. So everything's telling me my offload's going well. I checked all my tanks, my percents are coming up just the way I expect them to. So far I'm happy. We'll check here again about 10 minutes before my timer goes off. We'll go up on the towers and look at the cars, start the car. All right, it has been 1 hour since I started offloading. And we're gonna take a look here. You see, we're running turbulent. This car is virtually empty. You can tell by looking at it, it's starting to get kind of thin. And then another way to look is my pressure here has started to drop. My pressure at this gauge is down about 8 pounds from what it was the last time I was up here. And so, both of them are going that way. You listen. I can tell by the sound. Quite often when you're down on the ground, you will hear the pipes whistle as this thing is just pushing more and more and more vapor. You'll hear it whistle. So now you stay here. I'm gonna go prove the car is empty. Open up the sample line valve for 10 seconds. That car is empty. Now we'll put in my pressure gauge. Wherever that. And now we're going to sit back and we're going to wait. You could shut down right now. But the more product you leave in the car, the longer your recovery is going to be as you try to boil it off. You always leave a heel. The pickup tubes, pickup pipes inside here, inside this car they go down to the bottom, but they leave roughly 0.5% is left in the car. So on a car like this, it's roughly 170 gallons of liquid propane's left in the very bottom that we just can't get out initially. So we get that out through recovery. Well, doing 170 gallons is bad enough, plus you got all the vapor inside the rest of the car. So we have roughly close to 900 liquid gallons suspended in vapor and heel that we need to get out for recovery. So now we're going to let them go, and we're going to wait till both glasses go clear. Then what I'm going to do, because it's warmer weather, is I'm going to shut my compressor down and let my whole car pressure settle down before I restart my compressor and go into recovery. When it's cold weather, there's no need for a delay. I can go right from emptying that car, switch that compressor, and immediately power it back up into recovery. If you do it when it's warmer weather, you run the risk of slamming your internal car ESV, or not, excess flow. Your car excess flow, you can slam it shut. And that's really problematic if you're doing 2, 3, or 4 cars and you slam one car excess flow shut and you're not paying attention. It'll cause the rest of your cars to slam shut too. And that's pretty stinking clear. So my place, we're gonna shut that compressor. I just shut the compressor off. Now I'm gonna reset it electrically. And then I'm down to about 122 pounds right now. So it's calmed down. I really want to get this thing closer to 110 pounds before I start my compressor. So now that took, how long did that take? So I'm 1 hour and 10 minutes. I set my timer for 1 hour and 10. I got 5 minutes left. I think I lost like 5 minutes talking about this stuff in the beginning. So we're gonna go down to the compressor, get it reset. All right, back down here. Compressor, all it did was shut down. Now, if I did everything right and everything worked, it's electrically ready to go. So what I'm going to do is bypass or put this back into neutral. I'm going to take my four-way valve, put it into recovery. We're going to close my incoming vapor from the tanks. This is my recovery line. This recovery line runs back into my liquid trunk line, which will then shove my recovery vapor pressure into the bottom of my tanks, where it'll re-liquefy inside there, and it will not raise the pressure inside my tanks. So it's really a good way for me to do it. So we'll restart. Now I need to open up this valve. I have an internal valve in my line to protect against backflow along with the back check valve. So I'm going to open up that internal valve. Now I'm going to pull this down and re-engage it, and then we're going to watch these. We want to make sure there's no spikes. Like I said up there, I really want to get close to 100 pounds on this side, engaging the compressor, because I want to protect it. I want to make sure I don't pull everything off so fast that I can slam that car excess flow valve. Everything's really good. I'm now going to set a timer, and I can either run one compressor and pull this car down to my finished pressure, which right now is going to be just single digits. Anything below 10 and I'm happy right now. When it gets hotter out, I'll stop at 15 pounds. When it's colder out, I'll take it down to about 5. But anything in single digits and I'm happy. And if I'm just running one compressor, it might be an hour and 30, hour and 40 minutes to do that. But what I'm going to do when this thing gets me down to about 40 pounds, I'm going to start another compressor. And I'm going to run 2 compressors to finish recovery, and then it'll take me about an hour and 15 minutes. So I won't film any of that. I don't see a point in covering it. But I think that's all I want to talk about. Thanks.